Why, hello there. Today we are going to talk about my past, present, and future of books and maybe some other stuff. Has anybody else watched the new Fallout series? Because I can't stop talking about it. That show is awesome. I don't know if you ever played any of the Fallout games. The show they did such an amazing job on, from like the set design and the costumes and the storyline, just like everything about it is awesome. And so I started playing Fallout 76 again, which has been super fun. And I thought about doing a playthrough, like another playthrough of Fallout 4, but then I wanted to play with my partner, so we were both playing Fallout 76, which is super fun. And we had got that game when it first came out in the beginning, and it was horrible and broken and the worst. And now it's actually fun and like playing a whole new Fallout, so that's been pretty great. And it's gonna be a really long wait till the second season comes out, but I'm super excited that they're gonna make a second season. So if you guys have watched it, let me know what your thoughts are, because I freaking love it. So good. Also, does anyone else play Fallout 76? Let me know. All right, so let's get into the books. Recently, I finished the book Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina. There's a lot of messed up stuff happening in this book. There is a guy just like jumps out in front of a car as if possessed. Lady drowns herself. Weird creepy smile on her face and tries to drown her daughter with her. Dead person sits up and speaks. But then they take him to the hospital, and yeah, they're still dead. So something weird has been unleashed on this reservation. It sort of flips between two timelines. So you come into the story, and there's a knock on the door. There's this girl, Noemi, and she is around 40 years old, and she opens the door. And at first, she doesn't know who it is. There's this guy at the door, and then she realizes it's her Uncle Louis. And so these two are the main characters of the story, where the timelines kind of flip back and forth about like maybe where this evil came from and what it was and what was unleashed. You get into the story, and unfortunately, like, it turns out like her boyfriend was the one that jumped out in front of the Jeep, and they think maybe it was suicide, but they're not sure. And then a whole bunch of weird stuff starts happening, and it's such a fantastic book. I will have a standalone review for this coming. I don't think it'll be out before this video. It'll probably be out later, so keep an eye out for that. And then currently, I am now in the third book of the Dark Tower series, The Wastelands. And each book gets progressively bigger as we go along. And I'm not too far in, about 40 pages in. So I've just met the giant bear that was named Mir or Bearzilla. Apparently the bear was like 70 feet tall and was kind of an animatronic bear or a robot bear, but also bled blood and had parasites in its brain, and it's all crazy. So that's about as far in as I am into it. And it like just starts off with a bang, just like the other book did. And I love it so far. So this is like the test here. But I may have mentioned, if you've seen some of my other videos, that like I have an accountability partner for reading this series. Me and Jason's Weird Reads are reading the series together, and we're doing a podcast for his podcast, Weird Reads, as well. I will put a link to that down below if you're interested. Those episodes aren't out yet, but they will be soon. I'm not sure when, just yet. But I'm really bad about reading series, and I always make it to the third book most of the time, and then I just fall off. But as I said, we're kind of doing a whole series for his podcast and kind of keeping each other in check for reading the books. So I really believe I'm going to read all of these books, as I think he is too. So I can't wait to see what craziness is gonna happen next, because it was pretty crazy coming in, and it's like the dust just settled from the last book. It's been several months after the encounter of the third doorway with Jack Mort, that crazy guy that had a weird interlaced fate with Roland and with Detta Odetta, who is now Susanna Dean. And so anyways, Eddie, Susanna, and Roland are all in this place. They're in the forest. They've set up camp, and Eddie's rediscovering some of his talents for whittling. Roland's teaching Susanna to shoot guns. And then they're in the forest, and all of a sudden they just hear this like loud crashing, like trees are falling over, like stuff is happening. What the F is it? And Eddie's like in this other area from where they are. And Eddie was like whittling some wood, making a slingshot or something, rediscovering the fact that he used to really like carving wood. But his older brother always made him feel like a piece of crap because his older brother, who was the one who had gotten him addicted to heroin and all this other crap, just like had to always feel better about himself. Like Eddie was better at a lot of things than his brother Henry, but he couldn't let him know because his brother would like make him feel like crap about it and be a big dick. So he's rediscovering some of his talents, and he's so into it that at first he doesn't hear this dang bear that's coming crashing through the woods. And all of a sudden, he's like, oh, F. And this thing comes barreling out of the woods, and it would have killed him, but it's got these parasites all in his brain. So he's all crazy. The bear, not Eddie. At least not yet. And the bear stops to like sneeze, and Eddie's like, okay, what the F do I do? So he sees this big tree and he just starts climbing this tree, you know, because he's like, I can't shoot the thing. It's like 70 feet tall. It's Bearzilla. It's going to just like laugh it off. And running, probably it looked like it ran pretty fast, so he doesn't think he can outrun it either. So he climbs this tree. And then the bear sneezes all these parasites out of its nose, which is really gross. And then Roland and Susanna take off running. She's on Roland's shoulders, and he's like, all right, we can go. And they run, and they get to the clearing, and they see this bear just like shaking this tree with Eddie at the tree. And it's crazy. Stuff is crazy. What I will be doing with the rest of my evening after this video is filmed is reading more of that book. Super excited for it. It's great. And now the books we're gonna get into. I'm gonna roll up my sleeves for this apparently. So this one, I like the cover. That is The Mountain King by Anders de la Motte. I thought the synopsis sounded interesting. Let me tell you what it's about. Maybe you'll think it's interesting. Maybe not. I don't know, but here we go. What hides in the dark will find its way out. In South Sweden, deep beneath a mountain, exists a dark underworld filled with pain and terror. When a woman goes missing, Detective Leonore Asker, looking to make a name for herself, works the case. She appears to have the lead position at Malmo's major crime division within reach. However, in the middle of a high-profile kidnapping case, management chooses to promote her to the head of a so-called Department of Lost Souls, a unit for displaced employees and odd, forgotten cases that is situated in the basement of the police headquarters. For some reason, that makes me think of Mulder from the X-Files. Put him in the basement with all the weirdo stuff. Anyway, I digress. Despite the humiliation, Asker is drawn into one of these peculiar cases. Someone is placing small, ominous figures in a model train scene, and they seem to be pointing her in the direction of the missing woman. The case's connections to abandoned places causes Asker to contact Martin Hill, a professor in architecture with a strong interest in urban exploration. Soon, Asker and Hill suspect that beyond the seemingly banal lurks an unusual kind of evil. Will Asker and Hill be able to save the woman in time? Well, I hope so, but I don't know. I thought it sounded pretty good. I liked the vibe of it. It seems very dark and eerie. And yeah, The Mountain King, Anders de la Motte. So we'll see how that one is. All right, next up we have Thorn Tree by Max Luddington. This is another random one I got at the library. I just kind of like the cover. I like the simplicity of it. And yeah, Thorn Tree. It's like, all right, well, we'll see what that one's about. Could be good. Maybe not. I don't really know. Now retired from a quiet life of teaching, Daniel has all but disappeared into his converted guest cottage in the Hollywood Hills. Once a legendary artist, he's known for one seminal work, Thorn Tree, a hulking welding scrap metal sculpture that he built in the Mojave Desert in the 1970s. The work emerged from a tragedy, but building it kept Daniel alive and catapulted him to brief, reluctant fame in the world. Daniel lives next to Celia, a charismatic but fragile actress. She, too, experienced early celebrity, hers from a popular television series, but saw her life nearly collapse after a string of bad decisions. Now, a new movie with a notorious director might reignite her career. Single mother, Celia leaves her young son for weeks at a time with her father, Jack, who lives with her. Jack and Daniel strike up a tentative friendship as Jack's grandson takes to visiting Daniel's cottage, but something about Jack seems off. Discomfiting, strangely intimate, with flashes of anger balanced by a philosophical bent, Jack might not be the harmless grandfather he pretends to be. Uh-oh. Both Jack and Daniel have harbored secrets for 50 years. Secrets to which they devoted their lives. Weaving the idealism and the darkness of the late 1960s, the mania of utopian cults. I like to read about cults. And the glossy surfaces of today's Los Angeles celebrity, while thrumming with the sound of the Grateful Dead and other hypnotic music. Thorntree is a suspenseful, compelling novel. And, I thought that sounded pretty good. So, looking forward to reading this one. Okay, and so this next one, this is the sequel to Night's Edge, which is a vampire book. So, First Light by Liz Caron. I read the other one, Night's Edge, and when did I read that? Like a year ago already? Time flies when you're reading books. But anyways, I really liked that book. I thought it was a really unique take on vampirism. And so I enjoyed it quite a bit. And I was like, yeah, I would like to read the next book in the series. And I love vampire books. So win-win for me. So let's tell you about this one. It's been 9 months since the catastrophe in Tucson sent Mia fleeing from her home. But she's not running away from the darkness. She's running towards it, obsessively pursuing the man who gave her mother a thirst for blood and destroyed their lives. And that man is an a-hole. I hated him in the first book. He is the worst. I hope she gets him. Anyway, but when Mia finds the monsters she's been hunting and infiltrates a secret network of fugitives, she discovers she might have been their prey all along. It was a trap. To escape their clutches, she'll have to reckon with her mother's harrowing past and confront a painful truth. That they might be more like she ever imagined. Dun dun dun. So yeah, I am looking forward to reading that. I am a big fan of vampire books. Do you guys have a favorite vampire book? I think the first vampire book I honestly ever read was, well, in my brain, it's Anne Rice's Interview with a Vampire, but it's possible. I don't know if R.L. Stine ever had any vampire books. Maybe? Did Christopher Pike have vampire books? Maybe. Like, if they did, they don't stick out in my brain. So it's possible I read a vampire book from them first. But what I remember is Interview with a Vampire was like one of my first vampire books. So I don't know. I've always liked them. It's an intriguing type character archetype. If you like videos where I talk about multiple things that I'm reading or have read, the next video coming up will be about that. So stick around, check it out. And if you had fun hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.